Chosen one, you will be surprised with millionaire blessings. Something is unfolding in your life at this very moment, something you cannot name, but you feel it moving beneath the surface. There is a weight in the air between what you see and what is coming. You sense it when you wake up. A knowing that refuses to leave. A certainty that your life is standing at the threshold of something beyond explanation. Not wishful thinking, not fantasy, but reality preparing to reveal itself. Because what is about to surprise you is not ordinary. It is not small, and it is not arriving slowly. You may have wondered why certain things felt impossible, why doors remained locked, why progress seemed frozen in place. But beneath the surface, deeper than doubt, something was being arranged. Life has a way of concealing blessings while they are being prepared, and you have been in that hidden season without recognizing it. Every closed door you encountered, every silent prayer you whispered, every moment you felt invisible, it was not abandonment, it was preparation. Because the person you are becoming is not the same one who began this journey. You believe you are still hoping, but spiritually you are already being positioned. There is a difference between impossibility and divine surprise, and what you are about to experience is alignment revealing itself suddenly. Let that truth settle deep, because while you were questioning when, something greater was orchestrating how and what magnitude. Millionaire blessings are not merely financial. They are about transformation, about elevation, about becoming someone who can receive abundance without being destroyed by it. And right now you are being expanded into that capacity. You may have sensed it. Your perspective has shifted. Your responses are not what they were. Situations that once controlled your peace now feel distant. That is evolution. But not the visible kind. This is internal reconstruction. And it is essential because what is coming will not fit your former understanding. There will be moments that require unwavering faith, choices that require spiritual clarity, and blessings that require emotional maturity. If you were still the previous version of yourself, you would have rejected it all before receiving it. That is why certain elements had to dissolve from your reality. Not everything you released was meant to remain. Not every connection that ended was meant to continue. Not every opportunity that passed was meant to return. Some departures were divine intervention in disguise. Some emptiness was redirection. Some losses were preparation for overflow. You could not comprehend it then, but you are beginning to recognize it now. There is a mysterious season before breakthrough where everything appears motionless, but internally everything is accelerating. That is your current location. It may seem like stagnation, but behind what you cannot see, everything is being repositioned. Blessings are synchronizing with timing. Connections are being placed in your pathway, and resources are slowly aligning with your destiny. You are no longer pursuing anything, and that is precisely why things are beginning to move toward you. Because desperation blocks reception, but centered stillness attracts it. There is a version of you that already exists in the future, financially free, emotionally whole, spiritually awakened, mentally unshakable. And at this moment, you are rapidly approaching that version. Every choice you make today is either delaying or accelerating that convergence. That is why meaningless distractions feel unbearable now. That is why your inner voice feels unmistakable. That is why certain directions no longer resonate. You are being recalibrated, and when recalibration occurs, disorientation is expected because old programming is being replaced with new destiny. You are not confused. You are evolving, and evolution always feels uncertain from within but intentional from above. There is also something deeper you must grasp completely. Millionaire blessings are not approaching randomly. They are responding to frequency. Your prayers, your persistence, your faithfulness, your endurance, these are not invisible. Even when no one acknowledges your sacrifice, even when results are delayed, even when advancement feels impossible, it is still accumulating. Nothing you have sown in secret is forgotten. There is build-up happening, not just materially, but spiritually, and accumulation always reaches a tipping point. But overflow does not manifest in pieces. It manifests in waves. First whispers, then confirmations, then momentum, then multiplication. And when it initiates, it rarely stops the way minds predict. You might experience moments of uncertainty along the way. That is natural, because your present reality still resembles waiting, but your future is already moving. And the mind always resists when circumstances and destiny are not yet aligned. But trust this unfolding even if it does not completely make sense yet, because understanding often follows action, not before it. You will comprehend everything eventually. But right now, you are called to persist, even without complete answers, even without tangible evidence, even without human confirmation. Because your path was never meant to be obvious in the middle. It was designed to become clear at the revelation. And the revelation is not distant. You are nearer than you realize to a moment where circumstances begin to transform in your favor in ways that feel almost impossible. But it will not feel like chance. It will feel like divine timing. It will feel like everything suddenly arranging itself after a prolonged season of silence. And when that commences, you will recall this phase and understand nothing was truly delayed, not even the silence. Now stay present, because what unfolds next will take you even deeper into the approaching surprise of your breakthrough. Chosen one, you will be surprised with millionaire blessings. There is something more profound activating in your life right now. Something that does not manifest with fanfare, but it transforms everything silently from the invisible realm. You may still appear to be in the same position externally, but internally, everywhere you are not the same soul anymore. And that is where the genuine shift originates, because before external prosperity manifests, internal alignment always establishes itself first. You are in that precise stage now. There are seasons in life when nothing appears to advance, yet everything is being reconstructed in the unseen. That is what is occurring with you. You are not trapped. You are being fortified, and fortification always precedes expansion. Consider this truth. If everything suddenly opened before you were ready, it would shatter under weight. That is why life is precise with timing, even when it feels agonizing from your perspective. But from a spiritual viewpoint, nothing is postponed. Everything is being orchestrated. You might have observed something unusual recently. Your previous longings do not grip you the same anymore. Pursuits you once chased do not captivate you the way they did. People you once relied upon emotionally do not feel as essential anymore. And certain spaces feel restrictive for no logical reason. That is not confusion. That is ascension. Because when your vibration changes, your old reality begins feeling insufficient for you. And when your reality becomes insufficient, expansion becomes unavoidable. There is also something significant happening in your choices. You are beginning to doubt less. You are beginning to analyze less. And even your instincts are becoming more precise. That is not coincidence. That is internal recalibration. Because when someone is being prepared for financial multiplication, their decision-making capacity must mature first. Millionaire blessings do not respond favorably to impulsive choices. They respond to clarity, discipline, and consciousness. And those attributes are being developed inside you right now. Not in theory, not in concepts, but through lived experience. Every obstacle you encountered recently had a concealed purpose. Some obstacles were not designed to defeat you. They were designed to eliminate what would defeat you later. Certain distractions had to lose influence over your life. Certain patterns had to weaken. Certain dependencies had to dissolve. It might have felt devastating, but it was protective, because anything that cannot survive your future cannot remain in your present. There is also a quiet truth you need to absorb. Your breakthrough is not waiting for more activity alone. It is waiting for alignment between who you are and what you are carrying. Because sometimes souls labor intensely but still remain blocked, not because they lack capability, but because they are not aligned yet. And alignment is what you are entering now, gradually, quietly, but permanently. You may sense moments where time feels distorted. Some days feel prolonged, some feel compressed, some feel heavy without cause, and some feel strangely serene. That is not randomness, that is transition frequency. It occurs when your current reality is separating from your future reality, and during that phase, things feel unstable internally, even if nothing is visibly wrong. But that instability is temporary. What follows it is certainty. There is a reason certain visions are beginning to surface in your consciousness more frequently. Visions about increase, direction, transformation, new territories, new possibilities. They are not random thoughts. They are transmissions, because breakthrough does not always manifest as opportunity first. Sometimes it manifests as revelation, and revelation changes action, and action changes reality. You are also being separated from a particular kind of reliance, the reliance on external approval, the reliance on immediate outcomes, the reliance on emotional security from others, because the next dimension of your life requires autonomy in thinking, not loneliness but autonomy. There is a distinction. You are not meant to journey alone, but you are meant to discern clearly without interference, and gradually that discernment is forming. You are beginning to detect patterns you dismissed before. You are beginning to comprehend situations more profoundly than you used to. You are beginning to see through illusions faster. That is growth in awareness, and awareness is one of the most powerful indicators that your environment is about to change. Because when perception shifts, reality follows. There will arrive a point very soon where opportunities begin manifesting in surprising ways. Not always dramatic, not always obvious, sometimes subtle, sometimes indirect, sometimes masked. But you will recognize them differently than before because your discernment is refining. And what you once missed, you will now understand immediately. This is also where patience becomes powerful again. Not the agonizing kind of patience, but the aware kind, the kind that understands timing is not opposing you. It is serving you. And every day you remain grounded, you are strengthening your position for what is approaching, because what is approaching will not require panic. It will require readiness. And you are advancing toward that readiness step by step, even if it does not feel like it yet, even if nothing looks dramatic yet. Because the most powerful transformations rarely begin with noise. They begin with silence, then alignment, then movement, then acceleration. And you are somewhere between silence and alignment right now, which means movement is nearer than it appears. Chosen one, you will be surprised with millionaire blessings. Now something shifts in the atmosphere around your life, not in theory but in motion, because what has been building in the unseen is now beginning to show early manifestations in the physical, and you may not fully recognize it at first, but you will sense it before you comprehend it. There will be moments where things begin to connect without force, a conversation that unlocks a door, a delay that suddenly reveals purpose, an idea that finally feels actionable instead of just imagination. These are not coincidences. These are signals of activation, because when a life is transitioning into multiplication, reality begins responding differently. You may notice opportunities becoming more abundant, but also more selective. Not everything will be for you. Not every offer will feel correct. Not every direction will feel aligned. And that is intentional, because abundance does not overwhelm you with everything. It filters your path, so you only engage with what supports your next dimension. This is where your intuition becomes one of your most valuable assets. You will begin to know things without reasoning. You will begin to sense yes and no before logic arrives. You will begin to recognize timing in a way you cannot articulate to others. And this is not imagination. This is refinement. Because when pressure transforms into wisdom, your perception becomes sharper than your circumstances. There is also something important happening in your external reality. Certain people may begin to resurface. Not all of them, but some. People from your history who now perceive you differently. People who once underestimated you but now sense your shift. But you must understand something clearly. Not everything that returns is meant to stay. Some returns are tests, not blessings. And discernment will protect you more than emotion ever will. You are also entering a phase where your presence becomes noticeable without effort. Even when you are silent, people will sense something has transformed. Not because you are performing, but because your presence becomes more anchored. This is what happens when internal alignment strengthens. You no longer seek validation, and because of that, your energy stops dispersing. And when energy stops dispersing, power accumulates. That accumulation is what eventually converts into visible transformation. You may not perceive it daily, but over time it becomes undeniable. Small breakthroughs first, then stability, then acceleration. That is the natural sequence of expansion. Financial movement in your life will also begin to shift in unexpected ways, not always from one channel, but from multiple sources. Ideas you once dismissed will suddenly feel profitable. Skills you undervalued will begin becoming advantageous. Paths you abandoned will begin making sense again. Because when increase approaches, it re-examines everything in your life. Nothing remains irrelevant forever. There is a deeper lesson here too. You are being trained to handle sustainability, not just moments. Because millionaire blessings do not arrive as a single event. They arrive as a system, and systems require stability in mindset. That is why emotional turbulence is gradually leaving your life. That is why overreaction is diminishing. That is why clarity is increasing. You are being stabilized for longevity, and this stabilization is not always comfortable. Sometimes it feels like separation, sometimes it feels like delay, sometimes it feels like nothing is manifesting. But beneath all of that, you are being made ready for stewardship. Because what you are moving toward is not just financial increase, it is financial stewardship. And stewardship requires maturity. You may begin noticing a strange pattern soon. When you stop forcing things, things begin to flow toward you. When you stop chasing, alignment begins approaching. When you stop panicking, timing begins revealing itself. This is not philosophy. This is how divine flow operates, and you are entering flow again. There will be a point where you look back at this season and realize nothing was truly blocked. It was just not the right timing for the version of you were becoming. And that realization will erase all regret, because everything will finally make sense in sequence, not in fragments, but in order. Right now, you are at the edge of visible transformation. The internal shift has already occurred. Now, the external world is adjusting to match it, and that adjustment period is what you are entering, where results begin to appear, slowly at first, then consistently. And once consistency begins, expansion follows naturally. So pay attention now, not with anxiety, but with awareness. Because life is no longer only preparing you, it is beginning to respond to you. And what comes next will feel like doors opening that you did not even approach. That is how alignment works. When it finally activates, there is still a deeper layer to what you're experiencing right now, something subtle but powerful enough to reshape your entire trajectory. Because after all the silence, after all the waiting, after all the inner adjustments, reality does not just change, it responds. And you are entering that response phase. You may begin noticing something unusual in your daily rhythm. Things that used to feel difficult begin feeling slightly lighter. Things that used to obstruct you begin losing their grip. Things that used to perplex you begin becoming clearer without effort. This is not random improvement. This is transition energy stabilizing your path. Because when a person is moving toward financial expansion, life does not instantly transform everything. It gradually aligns everything, slowly, intelligently, precisely. You are also stepping into a phase where repetition begins to matter more than intensity. In the past, you may have attempted hard bursts of effort, emotional pushes, sudden motivation, impulsive decisions. But now, something different is forming inside you. Consistency. Even if it feels small, even if it feels slow, even if it feels unnoticed. Because real expansion is not built on emotional peaks. It is built on steady direction, and you are being trained for that stability. Now there will also be moments where you feel like nothing is happening externally, but internally your thinking is reorganizing itself. You will begin seeing patterns in situations you overlooked before. You will begin understanding timing in ways you never considered. You will begin noticing how certain delays actually preserved your energy. This is wisdom forming through experience, not theory, not advice, but realization. And realization is what changes destiny faster than effort alone. Something else is also shifting quietly. Your relationship with pressure. What used to overwhelm you will begin feeling manageable. What used to fracture your focus will begin losing influence. What used to trigger emotional reaction will now feel distant. This is emotional regulation developing naturally, and it is extremely important for what is coming next. Because financial expansion requires mental stability more than excitement. You are also being prepared to make decisions faster, but more accurately. Not rushed, not emotional, but clear. There will arrive moments where you will need to choose direction without overthinking. and your preparation is happening now in silence. Every small decision you make today is sharpening that ability. And even though you may not fully see the results yet, you are no longer in the same stage you started from. You have crossed invisible thresholds, points of no return in mindset, points of growth in awareness, points of release from old limitations. These are not dramatic moments, but they are powerful ones because they permanently change how you respond to life. You may also notice something interesting soon. The right things will begin staying in your life longer, and the wrong things will naturally fade away without force, without struggle, without explanation. This is alignment doing its work, because when your internal frequency shifts, external reality has no choice but to adjust, and slowly, almost quietly, momentum begins to build. Not sudden explosion, but steady acceleration. Ideas will begin carrying more weight. Opportunities will begin appearing more frequently. And your confidence in decisions will begin becoming natural instead of forced. This is how breakthroughs actually begin. Not loud, but consistent. You are approaching a stage where you will begin to recognize something very important. You were never behind. You were being prepared, and what looked like delay was actually development. Now you are entering the phase where development turns into demonstration, where internal growth becomes external reality, where preparation becomes visible progress, and where everything you went through finally begins making sense in action, not explanation.